how does a desire for lawlessness then impact on putting God, or not putting God first and not honouring God?
I think it's pretty clear.
It's pretty, yeah, sorry.
So what do you mean in your question? So you've got questions under the question. What are the questions under the question? I have an issue with wanting to be loyal unto myself and being lawless.
Yep. And that I often then prioritise that and sacrifice my relationship with God.
When you say often do, you're permanently doing
Permanently.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. And what do I do?
This conversation is making me look at that.
Yeah. Yes, this conversation is making me...
Which is the reason why the last almost 5 years you've not had a conversation about these things.
Correct.
Because you don't like looking at that.
No.
So, and this is what we find with a lot of people who hear Mary and I speak, right? They hear us for a while, they're enthusiastic when we talk about the externals and somebody else. But as soon as we give a person some personal feedback, usually they've asked, which you have.
Yes, I have.
I can remember the very moment you were sitting, this is nearly 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
You were sitting on our
outside area
outside our house, and you felt that you were very helpful doing the audio. You remember?
I think we had a conversation about you being a hard worker.
Yeah,
and you said I'm a hard worker.
Yes, I'm not a hard worker.
No, you're not.
No.
But I told you that, and then I didn't see you for 5 years.
Yeah.
So that tells me you don't want to see yourself. Yeah. And I wasn't angry with you when I told you that, was I?
No, not at all.
I wasn't upset with you about it, even though I could have been, because you affected some of the work I was doing. Remember, you were working on the audio, and I had to rework that audio.
Yes.
Right? So it was all like I could have been upset, but I wasn't. Even though I had to redo your job that you said you did well.
Yeah.
Yep. And yet that caused you to be upset with me for 5 years. Right? Now, what does that tell me about cause and effect? What was the effect? You were upset with me for 5 years. What was the cause?
That I didn't want to be told that I was wrong.
Correct. Now, I must bring up something to all of you here. In your current state, and this applies to everybody who's ever lived, by the way, it's not just you. In your current state, there is no way that you're ever going to progress unless you're able to receive help from someone outside of yourself. Do you know what I mean by that? You are not, many of you think that you're going to progress by yourself. You are not. You are never going to progress by yourself. It's a well-known spiritual concept in the spirit world that nobody ever progresses while they just stay by themselves. The only time they progress is when they get help from someone else, some truth from someone else. That's the only time they progress. So you will not progress if you cannot receive truth from someone else. You will not, ever, progress. Now, when I say ever, obviously over time you will get so much in pain and so much in suffering and so much disappointment and so much sadness that eventually you'll be screaming for somebody to come and help. But when they arrive, many of you will go, but I didn't want that help.
Someone else, please.
Even though that's actually what's come along.
Exactly. And even though that help would have been the most effective help for you at the moment, you didn't want it. And many of you have gotten used to this idea of you like using an iPhone or an iPad or something, and you like, oh, that kind of helps like that. That kind of like that.
Isn't that Tinder?
Oh, that kind of help. I love that. Someone's going to help me to be an actor. I love that. I'll go for that. You know, someone's going to help me to feel good about myself. Yes. I'm going to be able to get some power over somebody here. Yes. That kind of help is what I want. So I go for that, tick that, and off I go on that tangent. But all the help that you could actually get to progress is going to come from people saying to you things that are difficult for you to accept, but only difficult if you're not humble.
Yeah.
Right? When you're humble, you go, wow, that help was so great. My whole life has changed just because that bit of help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the thing that helped me the most this year is actually hearing about some things you said about me to someone else, and then they relay that information back to me. Actually,
it's highly unreliable, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right, yes.
I wouldn't rely on that
Like,
as a method
yeah.
for receiving truth. Yeah.
Like, you guys distort what I say even when there's a recording about it. So how are you going to go when there's not a recording about it? Like, I've had so many people go, you were really, you said this and that, and I go, like, and there was a recording sometimes, and you go, listen to the recording. No, listen to the recording. Did I say that? No. And people often tell only partial stories, don't they? It's like this. Oh yeah, like, I think Maddie's got a problem. So I'm looking for other people to hear any comments about Matt. And when I hear one, I go, I'm going to tell Matt that comment, because that's not me saying it, Matt. That's somebody else saying it.
Jesus said that you...
Blah, blah, blah. And the reason why people do that is very manipulative, actually. Like, the reality is that when I'm with a person and they ask me a question, I'll give them an answer, and I'll be honest, right? But when that person then shares that answer with somebody else, because often their questions involve other people, when I give them the answer and involves somebody else, that person runs to the other person and goes, oh, you need to hear this is what Jesus said about you. Why are they doing that? They weren't there in the conversation, they weren't involved, they never asked, they never desired.
And
So why even do that? There's obviously some poor motivations. You could say unloving motivations on the part of the person doing that, as to why they run to another person to share something third hand. Wouldn't it be better to say, Maddie, you should have been there at the conversation. There were so many things that were said that were really good for you. Right? But isn't that true with every conversation about divine truth?
Everyone.
So why aren't you with every one of them? Right. And can you see, if you were really loving God first, you'd probably want to be maximising, wouldn't you, as much as you could possibly learn about putting God first and having a relationship with God. You'd want to maximise that your entire life, wouldn't you? And so what you'll find is that as your true desire grows, you'll find more and more and more that when there's an opportunity to learn more about God and learn more about loving God and learn more about God's principles and laws and learn more about God's nature and personality, you're there. Because you want to know. That makes sense? And that is how you spend what you spend your time, your money, your effort, your resources pursuing the final goal being, I want this relationship with God in my life, so I'm going to pursue that, right? So when I've got opportunities, now surely you're going to have to work here and you're going to have to get some funds for yourself there and you're going to have to be responsible for yourself with your life and you're going to have to do that and you might have a family and you might have to care for them and, there's all these other things that you're going to have to do in life. But if you're putting God first, whenever there's an opportunity to find out more about that, you're there. You want to be there. And in the spirit world, because you don't have to work so much, you do work, but you don't have to work the same kind of labour here, and you don't have to go and wee and poo and eat whenever, because most of the time, by the time you progress a bit, you don't need any of those things. And so you've got a lot of time on your hands, and you're pursuing your passions and goals in harmony with God. But as soon as you have an opportunity to learn more about God and learn more about the laws and learn more about progress, you want to be there. Once you really appreciate its value. Makes sense? So at the moment, what you really want, and this applies to many people who hear divine truth too, what you really want is to be told you're a nice person.
Yes.
And
you're a good person.
for you for what happened to you.
Yeah, and for you, yeah. In fact, you know, we've spent 10 years trying to manage you guys in an audience about the poor me, look what's happened to me and stuff. You know, that all of my current problems are all because of what happened to me. No, they're not. They're based upon your condition and where you put your priorities.
We're just trying to give you the tools to release what happened to you. But for a lot of people, it becomes their excuse for having a poor condition.
They want to keep what happened to them because they want the excuse to blame that thing for what they then choose to do. And a person who truly loves God and who truly loves love and who truly wants to progress doesn't do that. They don't blame their past for what they choose in their future. Right? They don't do that. They go, I can change my future. I am the pinnacle of God's creation. I can do anything. Okay? God's given me free will. I can change my future. Okay? That's the attitude we would have. So very important to see what causes us to withdraw from truth and from God and from love and from principles. Frequently it's self-absorbed emotions that we just do not want to address or feel or be honest about. Make sense, mate?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's very important for you to see that, because what's going to happen otherwise is you'll go, oh yeah, you're back here at a seminar after 5 years. If I offend you again, how long is it going to be the next time? Yeah. And I'm not trying to offend you.
No,
I'm not trying to, I'm not getting on my hose about Matt and saying, Matt, you're a terrible person. You know, I'm not doing all that, am I? You know that I care about you.
I know you love me.
Yeah? And everybody who spends any time with me knows I care about them generally. It's when they walk away and they go, and they feel about, well, now I'm a bit confused. I think he cared about me when I was there, but when I walked away, what he said about me was terrible. You know? Well, he has such a bad opinion. He's not right. All right? All of that kind of stuff. Now, anybody who tries to help you will need to be in a better condition than you in order to help you.
That's really important.
Very important. But, so that is the character of your associates, you could say. You know, the people who are truly, who you're going to honour and respect. The people who you honour and respect, and the character of those people, to a large extent, if they are in a better condition of love than you, so they'll be able to help you, but they're going to say things to you that you are not expecting, and you never have expected before, because you haven't even been able to think of it yourself.
If you had, you wouldn't need the help on that matter.
Correct.
Yeah, I've been in a position of responsibility a lot more this year, and so I've got a lot more of that feedback about my character and issues and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very important that you choose people of character and that you can honour and respect in order to give you feedback. But then on the other hand, you've got to come to terms with the humility aspect, which is, I will not be able to get from where I am now to a better condition without some external help from someone that I actually, when I get it, I receive. I'm humble enough to receive it, rather than reacting bitterly for 5 years and not receiving it. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
Because if the very people that can help you give you some feedback and you shun it, then it's highly unlikely they're going to be drawn to help you again. Isn't that true?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's going to help you now? What's going to help you now is God's law. That's the only thing that's going to help you. God's law is going to beat you into submission.
It has.
Now,
No, I don't know if you're at submission yet.
Not
Not submission, no, I would say submission.
it hasn't beaten you that far yet,
No.
right? Because you're still doing the things you were doing. So it hasn't beaten you into submission. But it will, right? Now this is a choice you have. Do you want to be beaten into submission by the law, or would you like to get some help from somebody that you can actually hear and do something about, so you don't have to get beaten into submission by the law? That's a choice that faces everybody. Make sense?
Thank you.
Obviously, the most loving choice for yourself would be to accept the help in an open manner. But that's not what we feel when we receive help that we're not expecting. What we go is, in that position, we're going, I didn't want that. I never asked you for that, you know. And so we often find that when people ask us questions, they're sort of loaded. It's sort of like, tell me how good I am, and then I'll like you more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'll put some money in the donation box if you do that. You know, that kind of thing. Now, some of you don't. Some of you are better than that, and you put donations to us even though you don't like us very much. Well, that's amazing. But obviously there must be some honour or respect there for you to do that. Right? But wouldn't it be better to accept the help? Not just support us, but to accept the help and progress as a result. That'd be better, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, is everyone cold? Yes. Yeah. So we
Should we
might
break it
just
off?
get the